You ever think about how an entire society can just decide something is valuable? How belief alone can create fortunes out of thin air, making people forget all about good old fashioned hard work? Well, we're about to dive into a story that shows exactly what happens when that idea takes over. It's the story of a place called Antropolis and its spectacular gold bubble. And just like that, it all started with one single powerful idea. This wasn't some slow, gradual change. It was more like a collective fever dream. One morning, the entire society wakes up convinced they've found a shortcut to being rich forever. And that right there, that's the spark. It's the same spark that ignites every single speculative bubble in human history. So you have to ask, right? How did they even get to this point? Well, the colony's whole economy was shaky. It was built on a really fragile foundation. I mean, their money was literally falling apart, and that created this deep, gnawing uncertainty. They were desperate to find something stable, something real and permanent that everyone could finally trust. And this is the choice they were staring at. On one hand, you've got their old leaf money, sating, wilting, totally unreliable. It basically represented a broken system, a bunch of empty promises. But on the other hand, you've got gold. It's shiny, it feels permanent, it feels safe. This wasn't just about a metal. No, it was a promise of power, of pride, of getting back to the good times. How could you resist that? And this was a line that sealed the deal. It wasn't just some clever marketing slogan. It became an article of faith. Prices will never fall. Just think about that phrase. It's the siren song of every single bubble, isn't it? It just quiets all your doubts, gets rid of any fear, and convinces everyone it's a sure thing. Time to jump in, head first. So what started out as this sensible search for safety, well, it quickly spiraled into a colony-wide obsession. The whole point wasn't to produce anything real anymore. No, the goal was just to trade this magical thing that seemed to create wealth all by itself. And this right here, this was the fuel for the fire. I mean, just imagine an investment doubling your money every single day. When you're looking at returns like that, all the old school logic about hard work, saving for a rainy day, it just evaporates. Why would you bother with all that effort when you can just get rich? Man, that just captures the whole generational shift, doesn't it? The most essential work, the stuff the colony needs to survive, suddenly it seems slow, pointless. The younger ants see a shortcut, a way to skip all the hard work their parents had to do. And right there, the very foundation of their society starts to crack. And this is where we see the two sides of the coin. You've got the queen, right? She's looking at this booming market, and all she sees is success. Her ants are happy, they feel rich, the vibes are great. But then there's Alex, the economist. He's looking right past that illusion. He goes and checks the granaries, the actual measure of the colony's health. And what does he find? They're empty. He's focused on fundamentals, while everybody else is just staring at the price. And this is Alex's warning. It's so simple, so direct. He's trying to remind the queen of a truth that's as old as time. You can't eat gold. An economy that's built on nothing but speculation, with nobody actually making anything, well, that economy is headed for a cliff. It doesn't matter how rich it looks on paper. But did anyone listen? Of course not. The fever just got hotter. At this point, the market was completely unchained from reality. Any kind of rational thought was just gone. It was replaced by pure, uncut FOMO, that classic fear of missing out. And all the classic warning signs were flashing bright red. You had prices going parabolic, tripling in weeks. You had ants borrowing tons of money, leveraging everything they had just to buy more gold. They were even selling their homes for a chance to get in on the action. And the real kicker? All the productive work, like saving and gathering food, just stopped. Completely. I mean, this is the textbook definition of a bubble at its absolute peak. So at this point, the entire economy was basically a house of cards. It wasn't built on seeds or labor or anything you can actually touch. Nope. It was running on pure collective belief. The only reason the gold was worth anything was because everyone agreed it was. The illusion was total. And you know what happens when your entire world is built on just belief? It means the whole thing is incredibly fragile. All it takes is one little whisper of doubt, and everything comes crashing down. And that's how it started. Not with a bang, but with a whisper. A single rumor flying through the tunnels that went against the core belief that prices will never fall. In a market that's held up by nothing but pure confidence, that first tiny crack is all you need to start the landslide. Wow. The collapse was just breathtakingly fast. Gold that was worth 10 leaves yesterday, it was worth just 2 today. That's an 80% drop overnight. All those fortunes built entirely on belief were just gone in an instant. This wasn't some minor market correction. This was a full-blown catastrophe. That FOMO we talked about, the fear of missing out, it instantly flipped to the fear of losing everything. Everyone made a panicked rush for the exit at the exact same time. But guess what? There was nobody left to buy. The whole system just froze solid. The illusion of wealth completely vanished, and all that was left was a mountain of very, very real debt. And Alex, his insight here is just so on point. He realized the problem was never the gold. Gold's just a metal, right? The real problem was that the colony had completely forgotten what value even means. They traded something real, work, food, their community, for something abstract and temporary, a price on a chart. So after the crash, where you go from there? Well, what comes next is the hard part. The long, painful process of rediscovering what actually matters and trying to rebuild a real society from the rubble of that fever dream. You can just feel the Queen's confusion here, can't you? How could everything collapse so fast? It was just gold. It's the same question people ask after every single market crash in history. How could something that felt so solid, so real, just vanish into thin air? It's that profound shock you feel when a collective illusion just shatters. And this is the core lesson of the whole story. Real value? It isn't a number flickering on a screen, and it's not the shine of some metal. It's the real stuff. It's the result of actual work. It's the food stored away for the winter, the strength of the community. Without that foundation, it doesn't matter how fancy an asset is. Ultimately, it's worthless. So what was the solution? It wasn't to get rid of gold entirely. No, it was to connect it back to reality. And the new rule they came up with was simple but absolutely brilliant. For every single trade of gold, a basket of food had to be put into storage. It's a direct link. It ties the financial market right back to the real economy, making sure that for every bit of speculation, something real and productive happens. And look what happened. The storage tunnels started to fill up again. But this time, it wasn't with gold. It was with life. The colony's real wealth, the stuff that actually keeps them alive and secures their future, it started to grow again. The focus shifted away from the illusion of money and back to the reality of keeping the community healthy. In the end, the story of Antropolis is just a timeless lesson, isn't it? Real, lasting prosperity isn't something you can just find or trade your way into. It's something you have to build, together through actual work and collaboration. So I'll leave you with this one final thought. The pull of easy money is so powerful, and getting caught up in the excitement of a bubble is, well, it's intoxicating. But a story like this one is a great reminder to always take a step back and ask a simple question. What is the real value here? Because as the ants learned, sometimes the brightest shine is just the reflection of an oncoming fire.